Hey you, yeah you, by any chance were you thinking, God damn it, I really wish I could solve a Rubik's Cube up to 1 second quicker, once every 16 solves? Well, do I have the algorithm set for you? Welcome to a comprehensive tutorial on winter variation. What is winter variation, I hear you ask? Well, it's, you know that time of the year, like just after spring when summer is approaching, and it suddenly gets really cold for a few days? That is winter variation. So welcome to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where it's hot as balls. So there are 4 groups within this. You've got these, where there are 3 corners orientated. These, where there are 2 corners orientated. These, where there is 1 corner orientated. And this, where there are no corners orientated. These are quite gay. Even more so is the recognition, and you could only feasibly measure the length of the algs on like a meter scale or something. We don't talk about these. Okay, so let's talk about the first case. It's the easiest to recognize by a long shot. The algorithm here, it's not really that much of an algorithm. You see this pair here, I'm going to break it with an L prime. I'm going to do a U2, and I'm going to insert this open pair here into the slot here, and then I'm just going to undo the U2 I did and the L prime, so U2 L prime, which pretty much just inserting this pair that I brought out. Now say if you get this case here, same thing, but now it's going in like this to the front left. You can always, if you get it from here, obviously doing this is not a bad thing, but there's a better algorithm here. From here it's very easy. So it's R wide prime, D prime R wide. That's your setup. Now this pair doesn't actually have to be here. It can be here, here, or here. It cannot be here, but it can be in any one of these slots. Doesn't matter. Wherever it is, insert it into this block here, and then undo your setup. So that's R wide prime, D R wide, and that solves your thing. Okay, so now we move on to the cases where 2 corners are orientated. We have 3 different kinds of things you'll see. You'll see block. So this is just, a 2x3 block on the top. This, I think this is called tank. So yeah, tank, that's apparently a tank. And this is called snake. I don't really know why. Doesn't really look like a snake. We're going to have to roll with it. First, you have this case. So I'm not really going to discuss this case. This is just an insert. So you can recognize it's an insert when so it's a block on top, and you have 1 corner like this. You can also say this corner here at the bottom, this one has it at the side, but that's not really how you're going to recognize this. You pair it up, you see these 2, block here, insert. Okay, so now this one is slightly, well, it's not slightly hard, it's actually very easy, but compared to that one. This same thing on top, however, there is no corner here. The corner is to the right. So when you go to pair this, that is just sledgehammer, do this all along. So if you were to look at it like this, the sledgehammer, R prime F, R F prime, ends with an F prime. This starts with an F. So you can just cancel it, and then you just continue. So it's just R prime F, R, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime. So you're just cancelling into the POLL. It's not that difficult, you should be able to figure it out. Okay, so let's move on to, I guess this was tank or something, fuck knows. Again, very simple. The recognition's again very easy, especially with the 2 corners orientated. Recognition's very easy for all of them. So you got this one, same, so you got tank on top, and this corner is pointing out to the side, so the same way as the pair. Here that would be to the left. Very easy, sexy move, becomes this case insert. If you look at the case like this, there's no corner here. So this corner is facing to the back. That's all the recognition you actually need. This alg is pretty much just 2 triggers. It's the same trigger twice. That trigger it's a bit unorthodox, but it's very easy as well. It's R, U prime, R prime, U2. That's your trigger. So I did it once, I'm going to do it again. R, U prime, R prime, U2, and then it just becomes an open pair. So again, R, U prime, R prime, U2, R, U prime, R prime, U2, R, U, R prime. So that's it. So those are those cases. Okay, so now we look at snake. Don't really know why it's called snake, but I wouldn't really call it anything else. So recognition, again, very easy. You're just looking at one corner. That's this one. So basically this one, for this case here, it's pointing to the right, and this corner here is pointing to the back. It's pointing backwards. So this one's definitely the easy one. So if you would just insert it, you would actually get this. And well, you'll see this a lot. It's just another way to do this. So this is just your T case, but you can actually do this since all the edges are solved on this case. Obviously this is just a com, and if you use 3 style for blind, you might know this com, but I think most people should be able to do this from this angle as well. It's just the alg. So the alg for this case is R U R D R prime U prime R D prime R2. So that's the alg for this. It's just the com for this case from this angle. And if you just take out the pair, pretty much we're just cancelling into that. So the alg looks like this: R2, D, R prime, U prime R, D prime R2. So that's R2, D, R prime, U prime R, D prime R2. So that's that case. Then you've got its other twin case. Same thing, but this time the this top color is not to the right, it's pointing backwards. So there's no good alg for this. What we do is we just insert it, do a U, and then you have backsoon. So you won't see this too much with winter variation. Normally we cancel into COLLs, but here we're just cancelling into backsoon. So that's R U prime R prime U backsoon. Pretty much you just need to know that you'll get a backsoon. So you see this, just cancel into the backsoon. Okay, so this case is called adjacent. So you got 4 cases in this one. So let us look at, say, this one first. This is definitely the most algorithmic of all the cases in the winter variation stuff we're going to be learning. So if you look at there's not really that much to go by when you look at these 4. Since you've only got one corner adjacent, that means more corners are facing in different directions. This one, so pretty much what we do is we recognize based on, I like to recognize it based on these 3 corners here, maybe this one too. So if you do a U on all of these cases, you'll see that what you get is different for every single one of these. So one of these you get this alternating pattern. One of them you get 2 connected on the bottom. One of them you'll get all 3 connected, and one of them you'll get 2 connected on the top. That's how I recognize them. So let's start with this one. It's definitely the most algorithmic of the cases. Again, I like to recognize it because you got this sort of alternating thing going on. So this is just, it's a bit of an algorithm. I don't exactly know how to say it, but I'll try and do it slowly. So it's R prime, F2, R2, U prime, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, F2. So the F2 at the end is a bit bad, but you know, when I do it a bit faster, I don't actually think it's that bad. Something like that. That's how the algorithm would go. Looking at the next case here, so I'm not really discussing this case, it's just RU to R prime. You can recognize it from here, maybe, I'm not sure, but you got this bar, you do a U, you only get 2 on the bottom, do another U, you got all 3. So that's just RU to R prime. Not going to discuss it, you should be able to do that. This one is it's very easy to recognize. The finger tricks are kind of shit, but it's okay. So this is just, if you were to insert, I see a lot of people, they insert and they cancel into this T case. It's not terrible, and to be honest, if you don't like this out, you can do that. But this is just, it's the inverse of a particular COLL. So the out goes like this, and I like to finger trick it like this. So R prime, F prime, so like that flick there. R U2, R U2, R prime F, right? So that's R prime, F prime, R U2, R prime F. This one I actually struggle the most to recognize sometimes, I don't know why. When you do a U, you'll only have two connected, but they're on the top, as to, you know, as compared to this case, you had two connected, they were on the bottom, okay? This time you have two connected, they're on the top. So this one, it's not a very hard alg, it's very easy. So it's just R prime, D prime, R, U, R prime, D, R, but then cancel into R2, U prime, U2, R prime. So all I'm doing here is I'm putting this block down and to the side with the D prime. I'm doing R, U, R prime. And then I'm just, so that's my interchange, and then I'm undoing setup, and it cancels into that pretty much. So that is your adjacent set. Okay, so this case is called bow tie, I think. It's not that bad. It's pretty much the same as the last case, except now, you know, this corner was here for the last case, but now it's just shifted over here. So the algs for this are, I think, my favorite. We recognize it using two corners, so that's this corner here and this corner here. So as you can see, those two corners are different for every single one of these cases. Can I get it in frame? Let's see. Yeah, okay. Ooh, just about. So those two corners are different for every single one of these cases. This one has it just on the right, so I'm going to call this facing towards you, and I'm going to call this facing away from you, okay? And obviously this is quite obvious. So you've got this one, only the right one is facing towards you. This one, only the left one is facing towards you. This one, you've got both of them facing towards you, and this one, you've got neither of them facing towards you. Well, this one, it's quite a cute alg. I don't know why. That's probably the best word to use to describe it. So you've got this pair, only this one is facing towards you, this one isn't. You don't need to look at this corner, or in fact this edge, but this edge is always the same. So this is just R prime, F2, R, F2, okay? Now, you're going to have to regroup here. The reason you want to regroup is because if you don't regroup now, you're going to have to regroup later in the alg, and that's just not as good. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a regroup just to start off. So you see this case, I'm going to regroup. While I'm doing the regroup, I'm going to do an R prime. So from this angle, that would be a U2, R, U2, and then again, I'm going to sort of rotate up, but as I'm rotating up, I'm going to do a U, so it's actually not that bad of a it's not that much of a waste of time. Then I'm just going to insert this pair, so that's L prime UL. Okay, so that's that. This case, so same thing on top, except now this corner is not facing towards you, this corner is, so only the left one is facing towards you. This one is quite easy, so you can do this on multiple of ways. I see a lot of people, they do L prime, insert this, L, which is cool, but I don't like to do it like that. I like to do it a bit nicer. You don't have to regrip or anything. This is just R wide prime, F, R, F prime, M prime. So that's R wide prime, F. Don't make the mistake of just doing R prime. Remember, R wide prime, F, R, F prime, M prime. This one, very simple, very easy to recognize. You got everything's facing towards you. Both of these, this and this. So this is just U2, inserts, cancel into backsoon. So that's this alg. There's not too much to this. U2, R, U2, R2. So you would cancel into the backsoon. U prime, R, U prime, R prime, U2, R. Now this one, this is very easy alg. This is great because you can do it from behind too. So you would do U2, R2, D, R prime, U2, R, D prime, R2. So the best thing, you can do it from here just as well. So that's, oh no, I can't do it. That's your, I think it was called bow tie or something. Fuck knows, man. It's a pretty, those are the better ones. I like those ones. So this is called gun or something. I'm not really sure. This is supposed to be a gun. I don't really know why it's called gun. You recognize using two corners. But before we even start the algorithm, I've got a neat little trick that I use I want to share with you guys. So 3 of the 4 of these algs actually start the alg from here with a U2 already pre-done. However, knowing which one, sometimes you'll get confused. So I've got a pretty neat way to figure out when and when not to do a U2. So the thing is, pretty much we're going to look at this corner first. You have to look at this corner first. We're going to say, is this, so I'm using my top color. as white. So is this white? No, it's not. That's the first check. You're checking if this corner was white. So that's, you know, this corner here, this corner, this corner. Is this corner white? If it's not, look at this corner. If it is white, do a U2. So for these two cases, right? Look at this corner. It is white. Do a U2. If it's not white, so these two cases, look at this corner. Now we're going to do the opposite. So if this isn't white, do a U2. If it is white, don't do anything. So this is where we're going to start with all the algorithms. So all three of these start with a U2 pre-done. This one doesn't. Okay, so let's start with this case here. So you've got not white means you do a U2. And if you can't tell already, this is just unsexy insert. So do that, unsexy, and then cancel into R, U to R prime. So that's just this. Now you've got white, do a U2. So if you know this COLO from this angle, you do R, U prime, R prime at U, and then you do F prime. We're just gonna go straight to the F prime. So F prime, insert this pair, so that's R, U to R prime. Do a U2, insert this block into there. So that's R prime, F, R. So it's just the inverse of the other COLO that we did for that adjacent case. So now we go to this case. Again, this corner, check it, it's white, do a U2. This one is just R prime. I mean, you can check, like if you just insert it here, you get this OLO. So we're just going to cancel in, so that's R prime, U prime, R2, U prime, R2, U2, R. This is just, so first let's check, not white, don't check this one, white, don't do a U2. So this is just, if you do here, you'll see this COLO. So we're just going to go straight into the COLO. So that's R prime F, R2, U, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime, U prime, R. So that's this. That's it. So we've skipped 8 cases. So we've only done like 19 cases today. If you're wondering why we've skipped so many cases, the rest of them, they're just not that good. Okay, so I've got 2 cases with no corners orientated. As you can see, there's not too much to go by. There is a difference. First of all, if you actually do want to learn, I believe there are 4 cases where this corner is facing to the left and 4 cases where it's facing to the back side, backwards. Recognition for these is very hard. You have to recognize at least 3 corners here. And that is just simply not faster than just inserting and doing your OLO. The thing about winter variation, it's only really useful if you can do if you do the alg and the recognition within 2 seconds. If you can't consistently do that, there's no real point doing winter variation. For example, if you are going to learn a case, this isn't too bad. It's just triple sexy, I believe. Insert. This one, I have no idea what the thing is. I just googled some random shit. But, do it. I'll just insert, do COLO. It's not that hard. A lot of these cases, I think this case to U2, and then just R, U2, R prime. And then in this particular case, I'll just cancel into this. Since all my edges are orientated, I can do COLO. I can, if I'm lucky, I'll get a nice ZBLO. There's a lot of things you can do with last layer. So winter variation, it's only useful if you can do it consistently under 2 seconds, not just the alg, but the recognition as well. Scramble the cube, close your eyes, start the timer, open your eyes, recognize the case, and do it within 2 seconds. If you can do that for all these cases consistently, then use them, else just insert, do OLO. So I think that's all I really have to say about this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.